Yeah, I'm smiling through gritted teeth. I mean, I don't really want to talk about it, if I'm honest. But yeah, no, I broke down the game for the Premier League. So if anyone wants to check that piece out, more than welcome. But yeah, it was interesting, wasn't it? I think Arsenal played well in the first half. Pep did a Pep and tried something random with Bernardo Silva at left back, and although he did okay there, I think it weakened them so much in midfield that Arsenal were able to get up the pitch and create chances. Second half, he corrected it, and that's why Pep is such a great manager, such a smart coach. Makes the changes, and Bernardo Silva on the right was outstanding, pressing the ball, winning it back in advanced areas. They regained regained possession 3 times as much inside Arsenal's half in the second half. So it shows how they went up the pitch, and they went super long. 22% of their passes in the second half were long, and it's identifying a weakness that Arsenal have had in recent times with Gabriel, Saliba, the fullbacks, just dealing with those longer balls up top. They've not been brilliant, and Haaland, of course, gave them a lot of trouble. So plenty for Arsenal to learn. I think 1-0 Pep in the battle of Pep v Mikel this season in the league. So I'm sure the Arsenal gaffer will learn ahead of the rematch.
And Adrian, very quickly, that 22% number is the most in a half, did you say, by any Pep Guardiola side since he's taken over Manchester City?
At City, since he came into the Premier League, it's the most in a single half. Over the course of the match, I think 17.2% of their passes were long, the second most under Pep as City manager. So look, what they did, they identified a weakness and they played to it, and they looked to hurt Arsenal in that way. So well done to them. I think by the end of the game, there's no argument that they were the better team. It just looked to me like City were the ones who have won the title before. They are the ones that are experienced in those big games. And in the second half, it looked like Arsenal were new to it, and they were a little bit, they were just second best all over the pitch. Just lacked a bit of streetwiseness, a little bit of nous that City have in abundance.
Yeah, Mark, over to you. And you want to be a little bit more critical from Pep Guardiola. Sometimes when these managers figure it out at halftime, they nearly come out of it more in a blaze of glory than they would if they just got it right from the start.
Yeah, I think my friends were messaging me saying Bernardo Silva starting at left back, and I sort of laughed it off and said, no, that's just how your live score app is showing the team sheet. It's not going to be that way. So I was very surprised when obviously he was defending in that position, made a few fouls early doors, was lucky enough to kind of escape a card or two. Deploying him alongside Bukayo Saka was a brave call from Pep, and I just think because of the final outcome, it's not being scrutinised as much as it possibly could or should have been. Because if City don't win that game, Pep Guardiola gets heavily criticised for that decision, even if he did rectify it at half time. And I guess, like all geniuses, there always is a bit of madness about them. And Pep has he's prone to throwing in one of these kind of wobblies here and there, and it nearly cost City. That kind of left hand side of their defence looked pretty vulnerable early doors, but Arsenal failed to make their pressure count. And I thought Mikel Arteta was bang on, really. I was quite positive of Arsenal's performance overall, particularly in that first half. And he did sort of admit that if we're not good enough in both boxes, you're not going to win football matches. And that's ultimately what it came down to. Arsenal effectively gave 2 goals away with sort of sloppiness in defence, and Eddie Nketiah missed a good chance or two in the final third too. I thought it was a strange game overall, kind of ebbed and flowed. There was moments of real quality from both teams, but then sort of edginess and a scrappiness about it too at times. And but yeah, enjoyable. A shame to see Arsenal kind of surrender top spot at this stage, and fingers crossed they can continue to sort of march on and give City a real run for their money between now and the end of May, really, because we always said that it was almost impossible for Arsenal to repeat a 50-point tally from their first 19 games. It's 2 wins from 6 now. You just got to hope that they can sort of turn things around and get back into the winning groove and really make this a title race to live long in the memory, because Man City have been there and done it, and you expect them to sort of kick on from here too. But yeah, fascinating game. Just a shame. I didn't think Arsenal were 2 goals worse than City.
No, I'd agree. And look, they did it without Thomas Partey. That was a hammer blow ahead of kickoff, wasn't it? And of course, Gabriel Jesus. So hopefully, by the time that rematch comes around at the Etihad Stadium, Arsenal are at full strength with Jesus and Partey, because I'd like to see them matched up against them. I do think those 2 players would have made quite a bit of difference. Although Jorginho was fine with his performance, I think Partey's got that physical presence, and he might have been able to break up 1 or 2 of those attacks. They were gifts, weren't they? The goal, that's the regret from Arsenal's end. They were all preventable goals. One bad back pass, the other one, Gabriel gives it away in a bad area. And even the last goal, Trossard loses the ball, with no support, and they break on us. And I think Arsenal centre-backs, Gabriel and Saliba, are just having a little bit of a wobble at the moment. If they can just steady themselves down and get back to the early season form, Arsenal will be much more stable in the weeks and months to come. And I've got trust in them that they will do that. Yeah,
obviously Ivan Toney had a field day there last weekend as well. Let's have a quick look at the prices. Just, I know a lot of people like referencing these during the season. Incidentally, before, like, the current price is Manchester City 1.63, Arsenal 2.98 for the Premier League title on Matchbook. Manchester United 20.0. For reference, Manchester City were matched outright at around 2.04 before the game last night, and Arsenal were matched at 2.2. Condolences to that punter who matched them at 2.2 before the game, expecting Arsenal to kick on and beat Man City. And Mark, are these out of interest now for outright markets like the Premier League, when it's essentially a 2-horse race, maybe a 3-horse race? Is this a market you monitor and maybe look to get involved in at all, or is it a case that you just keep an eye out throughout the season?
Yeah, the latter really. I sort of had a little look before kick-off because once the Partey news kind of broke in the late afternoon on Wednesday, you could see City's price starting to sort of collapse a little bit and Arsenal being pushed out. And I was just interested to see how the outright movement has kind of reflected that. And they hadn't done a huge amount really. So if you wanted to get on City, then there was a good opportunity to do so then. Obviously now about 1.6-ish, I think, to win the title. Arsenal can be 3 points clear if they win their game in hands, but ultimately they have to go to the Etihad, and I think it was well banded around already last night. But I think it's 11 wins on the spin now for Man City against Arsenal. So they've got the psychological blow there, winning at the Emirates, beat them in the FA Cup too. So that's clearly going to be the real sort of 6-pointer, if you like, in the title race. I'm not one to sort of get involved in long-term markets at these kind of prices. Much more interested in sort of bigger prices, and you're not going to often get that in the outright market. I think the relegation does potentially throw up a couple of interesting angles. Crystal Palace would be one, for example, who are sort of sleepwalking their way into a bit of a relegation battle the way they're playing at the minute, and I think they're available around 10.0 earlier this week, which is an interesting price if you want something to cheer on. A lot of the teams down the bottom end of the table seem to be retooling, at least through January, getting in better coaches than what they've already got, and then we've seen signs of improvement from almost all of them, bar a few. So yeah, that relegation battle is really going to heat up. But at the top end, kind of happy just to have a watching brief from afar.
Final word to you, Adrian. Arsenal in and around 2-1, 3.0. Tempted at all?
No, but that doesn't mean that I don't think Arsenal are capable. Looked at the fixtures, did what every fan would always do and tries to add them up and top them up. And I'll admit I was probably slightly biased, but I had Arsenal with one more point. So, that's just, and I did my best to drop some points here and there. So we'll have to wait and see. I think City will be hard to stop given that they've won that game. But look, if Arsenal can somehow get over this flat spot, then they've got a chance, because they have. We shouldn't forget how good they've been so far this season. So we've still got a title race, that is for sure.
Yeah, can you remember what you gave Arsenal at Anfield? Incidentally,
a loss.
A loss. Okay, because that's the whatever about the Etihad and Mark reference Manchester City. For Arsenal fans, the Anfield factor has really kind of spooked them for the best part of 10-15 years. But interesting reviews and thoughts from Mark and Adrian. We'll kind of keep an eye on that Premier League outright market throughout the season on Matchbook. One of the advantages of the exchange, you're getting those prices instantaneously during the game as well, so you can keep an eye on those markets.